let us all do we can to build a better future.
Oh, Bernie. Oh, Bernie Sanders. What can I say that hasn't been said already? What can I say that Jimmy Dore hasn't said, or the crew from the Convo Couch, or anybody else? It's sad to see him in this way because I remember 2016. It's almost like a century ago in my mind, even though 2016 was not that long ago, 6 years ago to be precise. And seeing Senator Sanders constantly being a sheepdog for the Democratic Party, how his message resonates very little with me. Bernie Sanders is once again telling voters how we have to do so much more. We have to we there's so much work that the Democrats can do, and whether or not voters are aware of what the Biden-Harris administration has done. What has the Biden-Harris administration done for us? They still implemented a lot of Trump's foreign and domestic policies. We're still seeing, again, an administration that's turning a blind eye to millions of Americans losing their homes, their businesses, their health, the idea of maintaining the American dream. It's dying under this administration. We thought Trump was bad. Well, nothing has fundamentally changed under the Biden-Harris administration. The only difference is you have a neoliberal president reading the script. Trump, yeah, orange buffoon through and through. But at least he was transparent when we were involving ourselves in foreign conflicts overseas. He said first thing, hey, we're here for the oil. That's open transparency. If that was Bush or Reagan or Clinton or Obama, they'd all come up with some sort of BS answer of, oh, we're here for the freedom of the people. We're here for stability. Trump just said oil. There you go. And here you have Sanders, once again, Senator Bernie Sanders, being a sheepdog. Whatever respect I had for this man is long since gone. He's not who he said he was. And for that, we all should be angry with him. So I got this video here from Case Study QB. Be sure to follow Case Study QB. Hey, Elon Musk. Case Study QB is wrongly being censored on Twitter. He's not posting controversial content. Now, this happened before you took over, Elon. But maybe, you could reverse this. Because what is Case Study QB posting? Stuff from MSNBC. So let's play this video and hear what the sheepdog Sanders has to say.
Joining us now from Madison, Wisconsin, where he's holding a Get Out the Vote rally, is Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, thank you for making time to be here tonight. I'll get right to it. Do the voters that you've been talking to, do they have a sense of urgency, of alarmism over the stakes in their state in particular and how it may not really effectively be a functioning representative democracy after November 8th?
Well, the answer is yes, and all I can say is we arrived this morning, we did rallies in Eau Claire, we did rallies in La Crosse, we got a really nice turnout here in Madison, and I think here in Wisconsin, which is such a pivotal state, the issues are pretty clear, and that is whether we vote for the incumbent, Ron Johnson, who actually wants to eliminate the minimum wage at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, wants to give giant tax breaks to the rich, and then cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So the choice is clear, and I think Mandela Barnes has an excellent chance to win.
What you, I think, alluded to a little bit of your closing message. There's been a lot of talk about how Democrats should be framing the stakes heading into this election day. The president's been talking about threats to democracy. A lot of Democrats have focused on abortion. What has been your closing argument to the voters you've spoken to, and especially to young voters?
Well, I think there's no question that we have to vigorously defend a woman's right to control her own body. Obviously, we have to be strong on climate change, but we're not going to have much of a...
All right. So obviously Bernie's going to give his word salad. I can't put you guys through that. We've heard it over and over again, just how important this election is, how severe this election is, right? And why everything's on the line. Vote blue no matter who. To the diehard Bernie Sanders supporters and all that other stuff. The Democrats have had ample opportunity to do the right thing, especially when the Biden-Harris administration first got into power. Now, again, through executive order, here are 3 things that Biden could have done to bolster the Democratic Party's strengths. The fact that I got to say this once again shows just how incompetent, or not incompetent, how the Democrats are still willing to lose on purpose, even though they have everything working in their favor. They could have legalized cannabis at the national level, pardon student debt, and enact Medicare for all. The Democrats were given a month and a half notice when the Supreme Court, when that memo leaked out, that they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade. There was nothing stopping the Democrats in the House and Senate, as well as the Biden-Harris administration, from doing something to again, codify women's reproductive rights. There's no excuse. There's no excuse at all. There's so much more that the Democrats could have done, in theory, if they wanted to. But they didn't. They're waiting for the last minute. All what they're saying is, vote more of us in, and maybe we can get this stuff done. It's like an abuser. Oh, believe us. Next time, we promise we won't slap you around. Please, please don't leave us. We'll make sure we're better. They could have followed through before this midterm election cycle even happened. They could have done so much. Really, truly. And this is why I don't vote Democrat, and this is why I will never vote Republican either, because these politicians in both parties try and convince their voters that they care about them. And what do both parties do? They like to fundraise. So if you donate to the Democratic Party or to the Republican Party, there's a word I got for that for you. It's called you're a sucker. And if you really want to, give your money to these politicians, okay, fine. Hey, give them access to your entire bank account. They'll drain it, and then they'll once again leave you on the street. Because here's something that Bernie's missing. And this is a great video segment that was on CNN of all places. I know. CNN. I'm actually saying something nice about CNN. Well, there's a man on the street coverage about what voters are concerned about. And it's quite clear that the Democrats potentially could be walking into a slaughter tomorrow. Now, it's not my fault that the Democrats did this to themselves. They did this. They chose to be fools, not me. They did this to themselves. So
I drive a truck, and it does not get very good gas mileage, and I actually had to quit my last job because I couldn't afford to drive all the way out there.
Why is the price of gasoline where it is today? You can't just overlook that issue.
Vegetables have gone up 20 to 30%. Growers locally in the farms are not carrying things they did last year because people don't have the money.
And the inflation, they say it's 8%, but if you're in the construction industry, it's like 30%.
Food is high, gas is high, rent is high. We heard from many discontented voters, especially among the working class and in rural areas, those who feel forgotten by politicians in Washington.
I came up in a union household. My dad was a Teamster for 30 years, voted Democrat, but they're completely out of touch with what everyday Americans want.
I think there should be a lot more focus on working class people. It seems like we always get left behind for either the high or the low.
Then there's the issue of abortion. Maybe not the main driver for all voters we talk to, but it is one motivating factor.
We need to elect legislators all across the country who are going to protect women's health rights.
What's most important to you with this election?
Really, it's abortion rights, I think, for me, and just making sure that women have the choice.
I think there is a high possibility we may see something like Kansas. I think a lot of women aren't ready to go way out in public and waste time to do the whole bit. But they're going to come to the voting booth and they're going to vote their conscience.
I want to stay in front of the judge.
Dick Russell, a Republican-leaning voter in Michigan, told us in early September that he was reluctant to vote for GOP gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon because of her staunch opposition to abortion.
I think there are times when women's lives are in danger and when there's extenuating circumstances that it has to happen.
Are you ready? We checked back with him and learned he already voted for Republican Tudor Dixon, but also voted for a ballot initiative allowing abortions in Michigan.
And shout out again to Roger Meadows, okay? Ballot initiative, all right? If anything, to the audience, tomorrow, your choice, tonight, whatever, if you were to vote, if you decided to vote, if you live in a ballot initiative state, that's where it's at. Now, Obviously, there are many Americans that will still vote Democrat and Republican. And look, I mean, if they believe that their politicians like them, these are the same people who I think also believe in Santa Claus, little leprechauns, the tooth fairy, all that kind of jazz. And you know what? It must be nice living in a fantasy world where you think your politician actually respects you. And in fact, they don't. They never will. But that's the one thing I want everyone to take away from. Disregard what Bernie Sanders is saying. Oh, how this is the most important election in our lifetime. Disregard what you're hearing on corporate media. The one thing to take away from this is actually the ballot initiatives, because that's the one spot where you, a voter, can actually make the difference. And this is why we need to start looking at building movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. or anything that can be done federally. And right now, the best step right now for all of us is at the state level. Building independent movements and organizations at the state level. Ballot initiatives is where it's at. Look, when we've did segments on ballot initiatives earlier last year, where we were going all over the states, these ballot initiatives, many of them are there to help improve voters' lives, individual choices to be protected. Ballot initiatives is what's needed and what should be supported. And it's a shame that a lot of states don't have the same privileges as other ballot initiative states. But if you want to make a difference, that's where it's at. So, okay, in the ballot initiative, you're making an impact. These politicians, you elect one in, okay, Team Red is in office or Team Blue is in office. Nothing really changes. Maybe there might be some tweaks on how the system works here and there, but all in all, it's still the same damn machine. We got to be smarter this election cycle, especially as we end this midterm election cycle on the 8th tomorrow, but also going forward. And that's a takeaway I want all of you to get from this. I'm going to rewind that again. Ballot initiatives, ballot initiatives, ballot initiatives. If you're not following Roger Meadows on Twitter, please do so.
Voted for a ballot initiative allowing abortions in Michigan. When we talked Labor Day weekend, you were undecided. What
Yes.
made you decide?
The abortion initiative that they put on the ballot.
Did you vote for that ballot initiative?
I did.
And would you have felt comfortable voting for Tudor Dixon if that didn't exist?
No, I was having a problem with that.
Because Democrats think that by putting that on the ballot, it's going to help Democratic candidates. It did the opposite with you.
Yes.
And that's the problem with the Democrats. They're making a lot of assumptions that because something is there, it's going to benefit them. The Democratic Party has already shown its rear end to the American people. Now, they've had a lot of political ammunition that they could have used to effectively help them maintain power. It's not that the Democratic Party's dumb or they're being stupid. They're being malicious on purpose. They're losing on purpose so it can do more fundraising. Remember, Nancy Pelosi's nickname isn't Michael Jordan just because she's good at winning. It's because she's good at doing all these fundraisers and successfully doing so since she's been in office. It's all about the dollars to the Democratic Party. If they gave a damn about Medicare for all, or student debt forgiveness, or homelessness, or women's reproductive rights, or migrant workers, they would have done something decades ago. Never forget when Barack Obama and Joe Biden got into office in 2008, the Democrats had a solid supermajority in the United States Senate and House, and they did jack with it. Okay? Jack with it. They didn't do anything. This is a fact. It's not an opinion. They didn't do anything. Continuing on.
I think it did with a lot of people.
In our travels, we did speak with voters who do not blame Democrats for tough times. How do you think Joe Biden's doing?
I think he's doing the best he can with the tools he has.
You've already voted?
Yes,
Who did you vote for?
Democrat.
How come?
Because I think that they're going to do a good job.
School crossing guards in Nevada, Agnes Wilson and James Kiefer, differ on that. He's disgusted with both parties.
Are you going to vote this year?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because they're not talking about what they're going to do. All they're talking about is slandering each other about how much money they're making.
A missed opportunity for Democrats and Republicans in a state like Nevada, where every vote will likely matter in a neck-and-neck Senate race that could determine who controls Washington. Agnes Wilson says she gets that.
Do you think your vote matters?
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So, what's the takeaway I want all of you to get from this segment? Number one, let me just take this video down. Ballot initiatives are fundamentally important. Number two, the Democrats are assuming that they have voters' loyalty. Now, whether or not this midterm plays out in three ways, the Republicans get a majority of seats of power, Democrats maintain their power or get more seats, or it's 50-50 down the middle. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, one, how many Americans do turn out to vote? And then number two, what are these politicians going to do the day after the election? Are we going to see any kind of improvement to the lives of the American people? There's still this ongoing war. We have a crumbling infrastructure. Climate change is a real threat to us. We have, again, inflation, gas price, food prices rising up. People are being evicted from their homes and apartments. Small businesses being shut down. We still have student debt. We have medical debt. It's an ongoing crisis here in America, and we lack real leaders to do the right thing. How long must we wait for Washington, D.C.? That's what probably a lot of people are thinking right now. How long must we wait? Well, the answer is simple. Don't wait on these politicians. It's up to us. It's up to us now to start building movements and organizations that are not connected to Washington, D.C. It's up to us to hold these politicians accountable. Just look, for example, what the anti-war activists have been doing, calling out the Democrats for their hypocrisy. Even progressive heavyweights like AOC and Ilhan Omar, they're calling them out for the hypocrites that they are. And that's what we need to see more of. People challenging the system, calling out and being critical of these politicians. Don't be afraid of being canceled. Speak your mind. Speak plainly. What I want to see is more people step up. More people speak truth to power. More people hold these politicians, both Democrat and Republican, accountable. People like Bernie Sanders can sit on TV and tell you why this is an important election, what we can do if we help out his good friend Joe. Disregard that message. Bernie, it's played out, and you're a good sheepdog. Now roll over and step aside. It's time for us to step up. It's time for people to step up, to use our voices. What I want to see is more independent media voices step up, because we all know what's happening in our communities. We all know what's happening right now before us. We want to fight for a better future. All of us, in our own right, need to build that community up, because if we don't, nothing's going to fundamentally change.